Hello, my name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today's date is October 5th, 2021. And sir, what is your name?
Darryl Robinson.
And when is your birthday?
February the 2nd, 1962.
Okay. And where are we? What city are we in right now?
The Villages,
Okay.
Florida.
Gotcha. Okay. And what branch of the service did you serve in?
The U.S. Army.
Okay. All right. And when was that?
Well, I started in 1985 in Mobile, Alabama, in the National Guard unit.
What were you doing before you went into service?
Oh, I had just graduated from college. Waiting on a job, and I was in process of trying to locate employment at the time.
Okay. All right. And is that where you grew up, in Mobile?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Where did you go to school?
High school, Viagra High School in Mobile, Alabama.
Okay. All right. And did you get any college before you went into service?
Yes. I graduated from Alabama State University.
Okay. All right. And there. Okay. What did you major in?
My major was business.
Oh, okay.
And subchapter minor in accounting.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So you went into service. You had your degrees.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Very nice. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Okay. And why did you choose that branch of the service?
Well, I thought the Army would give me some opportunities that some of the other branches couldn't give me. I knew that the Army had a plethora of various jobs, and I thought maybe I could fit in.
Okay. So, what was boot camp like? When did you go to boot camp?
Boot camp with that Fort Jackson. Boot camp was in 1985. Tank Hill.
Where's that at?
That was in South Carolina.
Ah, okay, okay. All right, tell me about it. What was it like?
Boot camp was quite an experience. I didn't have any relatives that had been service members, so it was quite an experience. It was an eye-opening experience for me. There were a number of challenges that I had to overcome, being around a group of individuals that you're meeting for the first time.
Right.
There were getting up early in the morning and being yelled at. And
I'll leave that out.
But it was quite an experience, and I wouldn't have given enough for anything in the world.
Okay. How long was basic training? How long was it?
Basic training was approximately 8 weeks.
Okay. And so you had your degree, did you go to OTS?
No, I started out enlisted, and with the idea that I would later become an officer.
Okay. All right. And did you ever become an officer?
Yes.
You did. Okay. So we'll get to that later. So after basic training, you said how long was it?
8 weeks.
Okay. What did you do after basic training? Did you go home on leave or did you go to your next duty station?
Well, I was National Guard. I was a part of the Alabama National Guard at the time. And upon finishing basic training in AIT, I ventured to Miami to visit my grandmother.
Okay.
At that time, I got a job with Ford Motor Credit Company, and I've been in Miami ever since.
Okay. So you did. Okay. So, were you ever full time, or you just did reserve duty?
I was only reservist.
Fine. I just need to clarify that. That's not a problem. Okay, for myself. So, okay. So you're working in Miami.
Yes.
And what was your job?
Ford Motor Credit Company.
Great, great. And so, what was your job in the Army?
I was a 71 Lima at the time.
And what is that?
as a clerk typist.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're administrator.
I was an administrator.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So, so for your reserve duty, what was it? Once a month?
Once a month, 2 weekends out of the 2 weeks out of the year.
2 weeks out of the year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me what you did on your monthly, excursion.
Well,
And where was it? Where'd you go?
I was a member of the 124th Infantry, a unit out of Miami, Florida.
Where in Miami? Where?
This would have been like in the northern part of Miami, Northwest 27th Street.
Okay.
Robert Ballard Armory.
Right.
Was the armory at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my job at the time was pretty much to do administrative services for the admin section of the unit.
Gotcha. Okay. So, how did those weekends go? Oh, and by the way, let's go back for a minute. Tell me about your instructors in basic training. What were they like?
Well, I had a drill sergeant Watson,
Uh-huh.
real thin black gentleman,
Right.
red bloodshot eyes, with quite a character. And then we had another drill sergeant, I can't recall his name at the time, at this point, which was also quite an adventurous individual. However, their purpose was always to take care of us, to make sure that we understood what basic training was all about.
Know what you're doing, huh?
To know what we're doing and to save our lives.
Right.
That was always the finite point of the thing that we were doing.
Right. Okay. The main purpose. Okay. So for how many months was it before you actually came up on your 2 weeks training?
Well, after I graduated, I kind of went right into it. It was kind of like the following month. Mm-hmm. I was, joining my unit and starting the process of learning the Army ways and how the military operates and functions.
Okay. So where did you go for your 2 weeks, the first year?
The first year we went to Camp Landing. Camp Landing, Florida, which is in Stark, Florida.
Okay.
That's kind of our mainstay, if you will.
So you went there regularly throughout the years?
Pretty much, sorta. Camp Landing is kind of the main annual training station for the units in the state of Florida.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay. So what did that 2 weeks consist of?
It consists of active duty training in terms of the function that you would do with a infantry unit. What your job would entail if you were called up to active duty service. Your job, what you would be doing.
Okay. All right. And I'm curious. Did you do any weapons training at all? Any ordnance?
Absolutely. We qualifications. You had semi-annual and annual qualifications where you had to qualify with your M16. Or if you had other areas of expertise, you would have to do that as well.
Okay. Well, what about you? Did you have other areas of expertise?
No, pretty much I was a 71 Lima at that time.
Right.
And just simple weapons qualification was what I was doing.
So how long was it? It sounds like you transitioned out of 71 Lima at some point, and I'm trying to figure out when you became an officer. See, so let me hand that to you and see what you can do with it.
Well, there was a Sergeant Hussenfuss, who came to me one day. We were at one of our military drills.
Right.
And he said, Robinson, he said, I need you. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, you have a degree and we need officers. He said, I'm going to be sending you to OCS. And I accepted the challenge.
Right.
And attended OCS and graduated as an officer.
Okay. All right. So did your in the Air Force we call them AFSCs. What was your acronym for jobs in the Army?
Well, we had to go to OCS.
Okay.
For officer training.
Right.
Officer candidate school.
Uh-huh.
And after that, I was what was called a 92 Alpha.
Right.
Which is a logistics officer.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so what did that job consist of?
Logistics consist of supplies, lodging, transportation, anything that the military utilized as a need, clothing, food, shelter, transportation, and fuel.
Okay, so that was for your company?
That was for
Were you a company, battalion, or what?
we were battalion at the time.
Okay. How many soldiers did that consist of?
We had at that time the battalion had about 250 soldiers.
Okay. Were there a lot of women in your battalion or not?
Not a lot of women,
But there were some.
there were a few.
Okay. Just really, well, I'm just curious, what kind of number? 10, 20, 30?
Probably about 5.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Only 5 women.
Yeah.
And what year was that again?
We're talking 85,
Okay.
87.
Okay. Did you do your entire reserve career in Miami?
Yes, pretty much. There were some units that were outside of Miami
Right.
that I attended, but the bulk of the service, close to the end, I ventured out. But the beginning portion was in Miami, Florida. Then after that, after OCS, it would have been North Miami. After North Miami, I went to Crystal River, Florida.
Okay. Where's that at? What part of Florida is that in?
Crystal River is Central Florida, pretty much on the west coast of the central portion of Florida.
Okay. Well, near Tampa, near Sarah?
That would be near Ocala.
Okay. All right.
Near Ocala, Florida.
Okay. So yeah, traveling, and this, when I ask you this question, this pertains to whether you traveled with the military or as a civilian with your family or your wife or So where did you travel over that 30-year period?
Traveling, I went to Kuwait, was one of my active duty stations at being mobilized in 2008.
How long were you there?
I was there for 11 months.
Okay, and tell us about it.
I was a part of space operations, very interesting job. We were in charge of the satellites that were a joint mission with the Air Force.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting job. I loved that venture. At that time, we were in Kuwait. We were controlling the visual for space operations, air defense, and also some intelligence.
Okay.
At the time.
Okay. Over the 11-month period, and so I need to go back again for a minute. Throughout basic training, through your regular monthly weekends, and over the course of your your 2-week deployment, so to speak, on a yearly basis, and especially while you were overseas, were there any casualties? Did anybody get hurt that you can remember in your unit?
Not that I can recall.
Really?
We didn't have, in my particular unit, no. In other units there were some injuries, but not any casualties that I can think of.
So, by the grace of God, you never were in combat?
No, never was in combat.
Good. Yes. You have any regrets?
Actually, I would have loved to have gone to combat.
Okay. You would have gone willfully, yeah.
Yes, and the reason being, I was asked that question before, is that as a reservist, you put in a lot of training,
Right.
and you want to test the training,
Right.
and see if in fact that you can accomplish the mission that the Army has trained you for all those years.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things that I didn't get a chance to actually fire the weapon, but I actually went to Kuwait and participated in that function.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Most.
And did you? Well, we didn't finish. So besides Kuwait,
Okay.
yeah, and this can even be involved with this memorable experience component. Traveling.
Okay.
You know, I want to. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but where else did you get to travel? Plus, give me some memories.
Traveling. Well, my wife and I, when I was in Kuwait, my wife and I had an opportunity to travel in Europe.
Okay.
When you're overseas for over 6 months, you have an opportunity to go one place and come back. So my wife and I decided to go to Europe and tour Europe, Amsterdam, Paris, France, and Venice,
Okay.
and Rome. So
nice.
I got that confused, but
Right.
it was Amsterdam, Paris, Venice, and Rome.
Okay, so that's the Netherlands and France and Italy.
Yes.
Tell me about each of those economies. What was it like being on those economies? What were the people like?
Oh, it was unbelievable, the experience. At the time in Amsterdam, it was World Cup. So you had all of the various nations providing their reverence to their countries, and they had their flags and their colors and what have you. Of course, that's where Heineken beer is popular. So you had a lot of drinking, a lot of festivities going on versus World Cup. Paris was the cutting edge of fashion. You could see the fashion all over the place.
Okay.
Beautiful locations. You know, we ventured out and saw a number of things there, the Louvre and a lot of places in Paris. Venice, my wife loved Venice because it's the romantic place in Europe. She preferred that location. We were right off the square.
St. Mark's?
St. Mark's Square. And she loved that. My favorite was actually Rome. I enjoyed the Colosseum, what the Colosseum stood for, some of the battles that had gone on there.
Right.
And the engineering that it took to actually build that building.
The architecture, yeah.
Was phenomenal.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
So that was my favorite location.
Okay. All right. Medals and citations.
Yes. I ended up with about 12 of those.
Right.
You know, the service medals, of course, a number of various medals, but I think the one that stuck out to me the most was the global service medal. That's the one where I'm going overseas and you participated with joint companies and battalions and brigades to get a mission accomplished. That one was the one that stuck out to me the most.
Okay. Okay, nice, very nice. Oh, by the way, did you have any problems staying in touch with your family when you were deployed anywhere? Whether you were overseas or on weekends or you're 2 weeks away?
No.
Communication issues, none?
No communication problems whatsoever.
Okay.
You know, the MWR normally was set up.
Morale, welfare, and recreation.
Yes. Set up a place where you can contact your family, and military trying to be as family oriented as possible.
Right. Nice. Yeah.
No problems there at all.
Yeah. We've had stories where people were not in touch, and the commander or somebody would like pull your coat about it without reaching out to your family.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so you weren't one of those. Though.
No.
Okay.
No.
So hey, we don't want to leave this out. What was the food like?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Army food is the Army. It wasn't so bad.
Okay.
It wasn't so bad, and a lot of times the food was good. The difference is when you're comparing it to Air Force food. There's a total difference in approach to Air Force level of food and the Army. But I would say that the Army would do the best that they could do
Right.
within the mission that we had.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, but what about besides just the Army food? How was the food in those 3 countries? You ate them, didn't you?
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Oh yeah, Italy. You
Good
know,
food.
the food is excellent. My wife and I had an opportunity to have real pasta.
Okay.
And with marinara sauce.
Right.
That when you put that food in your mouth, it's like a symphony going off in your mouth. Unlike, it wasn't ragu. I can say that. This was real food here.
Right.
We did get a chance to eat food in Kuwait, where you have, hummus and lamb. A lot of those type of foods that I had never tried before.
And how was that?
It was excellent.
Okay.
It was excellent. Excellent food. Let me see. The other location would have been in Paris. I really didn't get much from Paris, and food wasn't that. Most of the stuff was really trendy, squid with salads and most stuff to try to keep you healthy.
Right.
Wasn't a lot of flavor in the food there.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I didn't get a lot out of Paris in terms
Okay.
of food. But in Italy, it was a total different
It
story.
was great, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel like throughout your military career you had all the supplies that you needed to do your job?
Yes. There was no problem with supplies. A number of times you felt that you had too much stuff to carry. But we didn't have any problems. By the time we went there in 2008, a lot of the so-called problems with supplies had been resolved. You were getting sunglasses if you needed sunglasses. If you needed shields to protect you from bullets, you had that stuff. But what people don't realize is that each time you add a certain piece of equipment to your overall supplies, you have to carry all of that stuff.
Okay.
So that's extra weight that you're lugging around. So it's a great thing to have that equipment, but it's another issue when you have to logistically move it from one location to the other.
So your wife went with you for the 11 months to Kuwait?
No. My wife remained in Florida
Okay.
and in Miami. She remained there until after my service. A 6-month leave, but there's a term for it.
Okay.
But you get 6 months. Within the 6-month period, you get 17 days actually to go to one location and return.
Gotcha. All right. And so she was what? She was able to come over for the 17 days?
Yes, her and I met
For that
in
period.
Amsterdam,
Oh.
and they do have traveling service there to assist you, and we arranged our flights to get in Amsterdam around the same time, me
Right.
getting there first.
Did she have everything that she needed while she was with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I take it she enjoyed it. You all have a great time.
Yes, we had a wonderful time.
Okay. All right. Okay, so over that 30-year period, where else were you ever sent anywhere else to be deployed?
I was mobilized 3 times.
Oh.
But I didn't go overseas or OCONUS only once. The first time I was mobilized, I was in Orlando with my unit, 30347.
Okay.
We were a lanes training unit at the time.
Right.
Which we assessed other units. Our job was to assess other units at that time.
Okay.
But once the war started, we were unit assisters. Our job at that point was to assist units that were being mobilized and that were going overseas to connect from their home station to the unit in which they were being deployed to and the location. And then my second time I was mobilized was 2004 to 2005. I was the S4.
What is the S4?
I was the logistics officer
Okay.
for the brigade.
Right.
And I did that for a year. That mission was home base was at Patrick Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
However, we traveled to Fort Benning for so many months, and we would train there. And then we would travel to Fort Dix for 3 months. We would train there. And the job at that time was to train for 27 disciplines of the soldiers had to get prior to going overseas.
Gee whiz.
To ensure that they understood what they were going to be getting into.
Okay. And so I'm curious, at that time, were you enlisted or an officer?
I was an officer at the time.
So were you doing the training or were you being trained?
I was providing supplies for the people that were being trained.
Oh, okay. Through your job as in logistics.
Correct.
Right, exactly. Okay. So, all right. By the way, what rank were you when you finally separated?
I was a lieutenant colonel.
Nice. Okay. Great. So you said you were deployed 3 times. Did we talk about all 3 places?
We did.
Okay.
First location, I was in Orlando, Florida.
Second
I was at Patrick Air Force Base.
Okay.
With various locations that we trained. Fort Dix being one, Fort Benning being the other.
Fort Dix is in New Jersey.
Fort Dix is in New Jersey.
Where's Fort Benning?
Fort Benning is in Georgia.
And the third one?
And the third one was Fort Stewart.
Where's that?
Fort Stewart is in Georgia as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. And through all of that, nobody got hurt over the 30-year period?
Well, nobody with... There were some injuries, but nothing other than, you gotta...
Nothing catastrophic?
Nothing catastrophic. No, other than a
life?
sprained ankle,
Okay.
you hurt back.
No loss of life?
No loss of life.
Good news. Okay, great. All right.
But there is one thing I would like to add.
Please.
In my experience, as the S4, the logistics officer, we had to do an interview with all of the staff of the units in which we were training.
Right.
And I remember doing my interview or my briefing with the units. And I'm looking in the audience and I'm looking at the eyes that are looking at me.
Right.
And at that point, it really dawned on me that the job that I'm doing, these individuals are depending on me to get them supplies that they need to train.
Right.
However, these individuals are going to be protecting us in the military. And they might not come back home.
Okay.
And I understood at this time how important my job was to make sure that they had every supply that they needed and equipment that they needed to get the training done so that they would be at the optimal best when they're out there trying to protect this country.
Okay.
So that was an eye-opening experience for me at that time.
That was very meaningful for you.
It was.
Okay. So, and sort of speaking, really, the next question right along the same line. Did you feel pressure or stress?
Oh, yes. That was being the S4 was the only time I had to take something for heartburn. And I never felt that feeling before. And
Rolaids was your friend.
Oh, Rolaids, I felt this feeling in my chest and I didn't know what it was. I said, man, I'm having a heartburn here. Or a heart attack or something. But
right.
Yes. The stress of getting equipment, the stress of knowing where all your parts are, logistical information, equipment coming in and going out. At the time, you can't get certain pieces of equipment, but you need the equipment to train.
Right.
You have a commander who is on you about getting equipment that you know you can't particularly get because it's moving forward. In terms of forward, meaning it's going overseas.
Right.
It was quite stressful at times.
Okay.
But it was one of the most I would say rewarding learning experiences that I've ever had in my life.
Beautiful. Okay. Okay. stayed in touch with any of your veteran buddies?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Good buddy of mine, Antoine Williams, retired as a lieutenant colonel.
Oh.
I have Leon Hill. Leon and I graduated from OCS together.
Okay.
We still remain in contact with one another. Don Smith. Don Smith was one of my good buddies. He's retired Command Sergeant Major. Really good buddy of mine. You have Manny Acasio. He also retired as a full bird colonel.
Okay.
And there are others. I mean, there are a number of good friends that I stay in contact with.
Excellent.
Now.
Okay, so this isn't a question for like after the service. During the service, you had your regular job.
Correct.
For Ford Motor?
No, at the time I was working, I started with Ford Motor.
Oh.
I left Ford Motor Credit Company, worked there 4 years. Then I did corrections for the state of Florida for 2 years.
Where?
I worked in Dade Correctional down in Florida City.
Okay.
Florida City, Florida. I did that for 2 years.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to meet an individual by the name of Kevin Love, who assisted me in getting a job with U.S. Customs Service.
Oh, okay.
As a special agent at the time.
Okay.
And so I left the state of Florida and started working with U.S. Customs in 1992.
Okay. And how long did that go on?
I worked with Customs until 2017. We changed from U.S. Customs to ICE, which is Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. Then we changed acronyms again to Homeland Security Investigation, HSI.
Okay. Okay. And was that your final career?
That was my final career.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to ask you a question. Well, wait a minute. Did you, how far did you go educationally? In other words, did you use your GI Bill for your education?
No.
Or home, or what? Did you use it for anything?
No, I didn't. I think my son used some of the GI Bill.
Okay.
And my wife has the potential to use it. At the time, I had already graduated from college.
Okay.
And I didn't proceed to go any further than that.
Gotcha. All right. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
After college, I returned home to Mobile, Alabama, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do at the time. And the military was kind of one of those ways to kind of jumpstart my career. And it was one of the things, too, that I thought that would get me out of the state of Alabama. During that time, I felt that there was a world out there that I didn't know anything about that I really wanted to find out more about. And I felt like a bird inside of a cage. And so the military assisted me in opening the door to that cage and being able to fly. It was one of the I would say it was the
transformative.
Yes, it was one of the most transformative things that I had, and because it gave me structure, it gave me leadership abilities. It brought out those things. It forced me to do things in terms of planning your life a little bit better. And I think it made me an overall better person.
Okay, we're really close to the end here. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
I didn't really think about war that much. I thought it was a job that I had to do, and I had a certain part in the war if I had to to do that. I just looked at it as a job. And I prayed that if I were to go overseas, that the good Lord would bring me home. And so I just took it as, this is what I'm prepared to do. Hopefully I can do it to the best of my ability, and I can save some lives along the way.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to add that we haven't covered in the interview?
Other than my wife being a part of this entire journey, I like to make sure that she...
How long have you been married?
Been married for 35 years.
So you were married before you went into service?
I was married, you would ask that question.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yes, I was married, I had gone into service and was married afterwards.
Okay. Okay, after you got in, after you...
Yes, after I joined the
service.
yes.
All right. Okay, so how long have you been married?
35 years.
Wow. Okay, well that's an accomplishment.
Yes.
As well, and congratulations on that. Okay, what were you going to say? Something about your wife that you wanted to say?
Yeah, that she was very important in my military career as well as my civilian career. Mm-hmm. And without her, there would be no me. She is the stabilizing force for me. Leslie, which is my high school sweetheart,
right,
is by far the most important friend that I've ever had.
Okay, well I want to thank you for your service, and I want to thank you for a great interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.